Alright, let's make sure we're streaming first. Alright, everything looks good on my end. Okay, you guys, today we're going to be talking about something very, very important. I was on YouTube last night and I was watching some of Claire Weeks' videos, and she was talking about second fear. Now, this is something that she mentions in a lot of her lectures. Like I said, you can find on YouTube. Second fear is something that she mentions in her books, and I was just thinking about how important the subject of second fear truly is to your recovery. I feel like if you have a firm understanding of second fear, then your chances of recovery are, much greater compared to if you don't know what second fear is. So I wanted to do an entire stream dedicated to the subject of second fear. So what is second fear? She mentions it quite a bit. Second fear is basically, okay, let's do an example. I love examples. I think they're the best way to teach. Let's say you're having a panic attack, or you feel a panic attack coming on. And, whatever you're doing, you're laying there, you're sitting there, and you feel that feeling of panic start to rise. We all know that feeling. You feel it in your body. You can feel it starting to take over. Second fear is your choice, okay? In that moment, second fear, what Dr. Claire Weeks calls second fear, is your choice. When you first notice that feeling of panic start to rise up, when you first start to notice those symptoms start to come on, second fear is what you add to it, okay? There is that initial fear, which you don't have much control over, that panic that first comes on, the anxiety, the symptoms that first come on. You don't have much control over that, That's your sensitized nerves. That's something that they just do. But you do have complete, utter control over second fear, which is what you consciously choose to add to that initial first fear. So when you notice that panic and anxiety start to come on, you have two choices, really. Those choices are A, which is, probably what got you in this boat to begin with, to fight, to struggle, to add second fear, to mentally say, oh no, here it comes. What am I going to do? How am I going to handle this? This is going to be the time that I go crazy, that I lose my mind, that I have a heart attack. You start to pace around the room. You start to use these coping methods. You start to fight and struggle and resist and tense up. This is all second fear that you are choosing to add. This is not something that's happening to you. Second fear is something that you are choosing to do. When that initial first fear, that anxiety and panic starts to come on, all this other stuff that you're adding, all this struggle, this fight, this resistance, this tensing up, this pacing around, all the mental, all my goodnesses, as Claire Weeks likes to call it in her books, oh my goodness, all this stuff is what you're choosing to add. That's second fear. So that's usually how most people end up in this sensitized boat, is by going with option A there, with the struggling and the resisting. But then you have another choice, which is option B, and that's to not add second fear. That is to accept and allow and float with, as Claire Weeks likes to call it, to accept and float with the initial fear that comes with the initial anxiety and panic, to notice it for what it is, and to, instead of fighting, rather to just let go and to accept and to float. Now that would be not adding second fear. And why this is so important, not adding second fear, is because when you do this, you are sending a message to your nerves. Every single time that you don't add second fear, you are sending a message directly to your nerves, and in the moment it may not feel like you are, but you are. The brain's a slow learner, but you are sending a message to your nerves that says, I am okay, there is no real danger, I don't need your protection. So, but when you do the opposite and you add second fear, you're sending a message to the nerves that says, I am in danger, I do need your protection, there is a tiger in the room with me, and I need your help. So the brain makes note of this, and it continues to want to help you as time goes on. You stay sensitized, the nerves stay on alert, they stay high strung. So it really comes down to Are you adding second fear or are you not adding second fear? That is going to make the difference in whether or not your nerves eventually get the right idea. I say eventually because it does take time. It takes time for the brain to learn. It's not going to learn overnight. But the more you take advantage of every opportunity you have to not add second fear, the more your brain is learning. And the chances of your recovery, every time you do this, every time you don't add second fear, your brain's learning, your brain is learning. No excuses here, because this is just how it works. This is just how it works. And, your brain, your nerves, anxiety and panic's there to protect you. And the more you continue to add second fear, the more it continues to want to protect you. But the more you practice not adding second fear and just letting these feelings come, letting them go, instead of resisting, instead of tensing up, the more you do this, the more the brain is learning. It's really that black and white. It's really, I know it doesn't feel simple, but it really is that simple. And this is something that you have to practice. You're probably not going to be great at this at first. Most people aren't. I know I definitely wasn't. So it's something you have to practice. But anytime you get that first fear, which is that anxiety and panic that starts to creep up, you need to come back and remember, okay, if I add second fear here with my fighting, my tensing up, my resisting, my struggling, my mentally saying, oh God, I'm going to die, if I add second fear here, my brain's going to want to continue to protect me. If I practice not adding second fear by just focusing on the truth, okay, these are just harmless feelings, my body's trying to protect me, but I know there's no real danger. Realistically and rationally, I know that. So I have to show my brain that now by not adding second fear. I'm just going to float with this as best as I can. The more you practice doing that, the more your brain's going to learn, okay? And it really is, like I said, it really is that black and white. You can try to overcomplicate it all you want, which most people do make that mistake. I know I did. But it really is that cut and dry. It really is that straightforward. Any amount of overcomplicating this thing is just going to add more stress to your nerves. Keep it simple, because it really is that straightforward. Most of us are just in a bad habit of overcomplicating it. So that is second fear, and that's why it can make, it will make the difference in whether or not you recover. So that is second fear. That is, why it's so important, and that's why Claire Weeks mentions it so much in her talks and her books. I just wanted to make that very clear today, because it really is, like I keep saying, probably one of the most important lessons that you will learn as far as your recovery goes. So, with all that being said, that is the end of this, not the end of this stream, but the end of the point of this stream. I am going to hang out for just a minute and read some comments, because we've got some comments going over here, so I'm going to do that. But if you were here just for the point of the stream, that is officially over, so I hope you enjoyed the stream. No psychiatrists tell all this. This is the reality. Yeah, Claire Weeks was one of the few doctors out there who, taught the acceptance method. She was the pioneer of the acceptance method. This is her method. And she's one of the few people to really push the acceptance method. And I'm glad she did, because it really is the reality of things. I mean, this is the truth. Hey Wonder Bro, hello, welcome to the stream. Panic attacks have completely gone, but I've got horrible, painful muscle tension. Any ideas on how to handle that? Let time pass. That's another thing that Claire Weeks says a lot, and it's very true. You have to let time pass to let all your symptoms fade away. A lot of times we can lose some symptoms, but other ones tend to stick around, and there's not a whole lot we can do besides to continue to practice not adding second fear and letting time pass. And, try to be patient. That's another thing that Claire Weeks says. Brilliant woman. She says a lot of good things. Try to be patient, because it does take time. And I know patience is something that can be hard to come by, but try to be patient. Try to be patient. Understand that this is how the brain works, and it does take time, and you're getting there. Pat yourself on the back. Take it one day at a time. One day at a time. Can God help if I ask for help? That's a subject, that's a can of worms we're not going to open up on this channel. Love you. I love you too. I love you too. Great guy, so helpful. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Appreciate it. Dizziness is a very common symptom. Been reading her book. She's awesome. Yeah, she is awesome. I don't know why your comment was hidden, Eric, but I just approved it. Commit to acceptance and patience is the cure. Yes, commitment to acceptance and patience is the cure. You are 100% correct. I am healed, but there is still some thoughts, but I don't argue with them. That's great. You know, you can heal your nerves and still have the occasional thought. You know, it just won't cause as much of a reaction because your nerves are healed. That doesn't mean that the thought's any less annoying. I understand that, but that's where, you know, I talk a lot about not following your thoughts. That is where that mostly comes into play. Like, you can be healed from sensitization and still have annoying thoughts. All of us do, really, as human beings. But that's why I talk a lot about thoughts here on the channel, because I'm not just trying to help people who are sensitized. I'm also trying to help, you know, people with their mental health, sensitized or not. And that's where I talk a lot about not following your thoughts and that sort of thing. You don't have to get involved with your mind, you know, etc., etc. So I try to help, you know, I try to help everyone, sensitized or not, and that's where that really comes into play. You can be healed and still suffer from annoying thoughts, but keep practicing, because we can cut down on those too. You know, we can continue to retrain the brain even after we're desensitized. We can continue to do mind work even after our nerves are healed. You know, there's still work that can be done. I'm no longer sensitized, but the mornings are still horrible for me with extreme tension in the mind and body. It's been months. Yeah, and it probably will be months with, you know, even with true dedication. It's really hard to say how long it'll be for each person, because everyone is so different. You know, we're all kind of dealing with the same thing. You know, you guys are all dealing with the same thing, but it really depends on, you know, you as a person. So it's almost impossible to give a time frame, but with true dedication, you know, it can still at times take a few months, but, you know, usually with each day getting a little bit better, the occasional setback thrown in there, you know, here and there. Don't get too upset over setbacks. You know, it's nothing more than a perfect opportunity to continue growing and learning and retraining. So don't get too upset over setbacks. But your video on doing nothing is good. I love it a lot. Thank you. I think I know which video you're talking about. Doing absolutely nothing. That, you know, that's a perfect example of not adding second fear. If you're doing absolutely nothing and you're just letting it happen, then you're not adding second fear. You're not fueling the fire. So, what if I'm healed but taking some medication? Medication or meditate? No, that's medication. Okay. Medication. Should I leave it? I can't really give, to be honest, I can't really say whether or not you should stop or start taking medication. If you're healed, that's great. I can tell you that personally I didn't use medication to heal. But other than that, I can't really say much about that. That's something you'd have to talk about, you know, with your doctor. So, thank you for everything you do. Thank you for watching. Thank you for choosing me as your guru, whatever you want to call it. Thank you for choosing me. I'm looking for a girlfriend who has anxiety. Is that weird? I don't know. Why? I think I read that correctly. You're purposely looking for a girlfriend for a girl who has anxiety? That's what you're going for? I mean, you know, people who have anxiety or who have dealt with anxiety in the past are usually very understanding, caring people. So there's that. Thank you heaps, Wonder Bro. Thank you. Attila, hello. Welcome to the stream. I stopped medication fine. Have faith. Yeah, I really that's the thing. Like I want to give, I wish I could talk about medication and stuff like that, but it's something I just don't want to get into just in case, I don't want to tell people whether or not they should take medication or shouldn't take medication. All I can say is that personally I didn't, but as far as stopping medication goes, that's something you definitely have to talk about with your doctor, not me. So does SIGs increase anxiety? I've never noticed it increase anxiety or decrease anxiety. I've never noticed either, so I don't really have an opinion on that one because I've been smoking for a while and I've never noticed it help my anxiety and I've never noticed it increase my anxiety. So you know. I think it's really one of those things. I think it's a mental thing. If you think it does, then it will. If you think it doesn't, then it doesn't. So, you'd be surprised how much, how many things work like that. It comes down to what you think. If you think it does, it does. If you think it doesn't, it doesn't. You would be so surprised how many things in your life really does come down to that. Up here. When you said anxiety and depression, I was told both can't live in the brain at the same time. What's your thoughts on that, Wonder Bro? Um, I don't know. I don't know. I think if you're anxious and depressed, usually we see anxiety lead to depression. Not in everybody, but that can happen simply because putting up with anxiety is, a pain in the ass, so it can lead to depression. As far as it both living in the brain at the same time, I've heard plenty of people say that, they've been anxious and depressed at the same time. Personally, for me, it was more anxiety. I have had my bouts with depression, but for me, it was more anxiety than anything. So I can't really speak from personal experience on that one. But I can say that I've heard plenty of people say that they've been both at the same time. So. Is it true we have two brains? You have two sides to your brain. Not two brains, but you have two sides to your brain. Ever since I embraced acceptance, my panic attacks are completely gone. I faced all of my irrational fears. I'm going to die / pass out / I can't breathe. While doing nothing, I learned to trust myself. That's an excellent comment, David. I wish I could somehow pin that in the stream. Is that possible? I don't think you can. No. No, can't pin that in the stream. I've only got like 1 or 2 moderators on this channel. All 384, you're in here quite a bit, and you've been here for years. If you would like moderator privileges, my friend, just let me know. Is this guy seriously in here trying to pick up women? He said, any anxious chicks, hit me up. You'll find plenty of anxious chicks here, but I'm not sure if they're here looking to hook up. So I respect the hustle. I respect the hustle. That's funny. That's funny. Oh, Bendy Trees is here. Just got out of the shower, so everyone behave. Yeah, I'm looking to pick up more moderators as we continue to grow. I mean, we're approaching like 4,500 subs, so we're growing at a pretty steady rate, which is awesome. But I am looking to pick up more moderators that I can trust along the way, because we're going to need them. So just to keep all the assholes at bay, which we've never had, many problems with assholes or trolls here on the channel, and I think it's because of the kind of content I do. It's not really a place where trolls or, can thrive. So I don't think we'll ever have much of a big problem with those kind of people, but they do come from time to time, so, I try to stay on top of it. Good night, my friend. Have a good night. Have a good night's sleep. Wonder Bro, did any of your setbacks have similar physical effects or were as strong as previous symptoms? I think are you asking basically if I've ever experienced a setback during my recovery where it was just as strong as my initial fall into sensitization? Is that what you're basically asking? I'm trying to make sure I get that right before I answer. Okay, yes. I've had, I had a few setbacks during recovery, and I think everyone does. I think that's just to be expected. Not saying that you can't recover with no setbacks. I'm sure some people have. But I did experience a few setbacks, and usually my setbacks were not as bad. Not as bad as when I first fell into sensitization, although it seemed at times that, it might be, but it never was, if that makes sense. I'm not saying that can happen. I mean, I'm sure it can, depending on, back to the point of the stream, depending on how much second fear you add. I'm sure that can potentially happen. Do you still get those feelings? I do not get sensitized feelings anymore. I get what I like to call normal people anxiety. If something extremely stressful or bad is happening in my life at the moment. But even in those circumstances, I can handle those now way better than I ever could before, just from all the things that I've learned that I'm now teaching you guys about the mind, the thoughts, feelings. So even under circumstances where it's normal to have anxiety, I can still handle that better now, way better than I ever could before. How long did you suffer with your anxiety, Wonder Bro? I would say I didn't have my first real bout of sensitization until I was in my late teens. But I've always been an anxious kid. Like, even when I was really young, like elementary school, I would like pull pieces of my hair out, like chunks of my hair out, because I was just overthinking things all the time. So my journey with anxiety started when I was really young, like I said, elementary school. But my first real bout of sensitization didn't come on until later, until like late teens, I believe. And then I had several bouts with sensitization on and off, like 3 or 4 bouts with that, like severe bouts. Because, of course, it continued to happen because back then I didn't know the advice that I know now. I didn't know about acceptance. I didn't know all the stuff I know now. So that's why it continued to happen, on and off. Because I had no clue about any of this stuff. So it was no wonder that it continued to happen. But, yeah. So it started young. And my first bout of sensitization came in like late teens, so. Anxiety can make you feel like you don't want to do anything besides just hide away from the world. That's a very common, normal thing to feel when you're in sensitization. It's not the right thing to do because you're sending the wrong message to your brain. I would consider that adding second fear, to want to just hide away and avoid doing things. So it's not the right thing to do, but it can make you feel like that. Yes, it can. Do you play tennis? No. I would look ridiculous trying to play tennis, if we're being honest. I would look absolutely ridiculous. Ooh. Ooh. I'm starting to get a little hungry. Haven't ate today yet. Haven't ate today yet. Do you live alone? No. No. I'm thinking about, I don't know if this will happen, but I'm thinking about going over some of Claire Weeks' work and some of her lectures and just finding some key points. You know, just like this stream here, Second Fear. Finding some key points and jotting those down and doing some videos on Claire Weeks. Obviously, we've already talked a lot about her on the channel, but I want to do like specific points and do some videos on those points, just like with this stream here. I'm thinking about doing something like that. I done that for about 6 months, but I am back at work and feel loads better. Yeah, see, that's the thing. You know, if you just, you know, even if you don't have a job, if you still just get up and do things, and you know, live as normally as possible, it's gonna help. What about alcohol? Alcohol is not good for your nerves. Not good for your nerves. Is it possible to have physical symptoms when there are no thoughts? Yeah, if your nerves are high strung, if you're what, you know, we call sensitized, you can't have physical symptoms without necessarily negative thinking. You can't have symptoms in the body still, you know, because the nerves are high strung. So alright, you guys, we are approaching the half-hour mark, so I'm going to go ahead and end it here. I think it's been an excellent stream. Thank you all for coming and watching. I really do appreciate it. We are on our way to 4,500 subs, growing like crazy, and it's just mind-blowing. Thank you guys so much, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed the stream, and until next time, as always, like, subscribe, share, comment. Really helps me out. Stay awesome, you guys. Have a great, great day.